Bipartisan bill is being floated on Capitol Hill that would incentivize companies to distribute at least 5% of their stock to the lowest paid 80% of their employees. Joining us right now is New York Democratic Congressman Tom Suozzi. He is one of the co-authors of the Share Plan Act. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's an interesting concept. It's a provocative idea. Explain how it would work in practice.
It's a big idea. And the idea is that if companies with more than 500 employees share 5% of their stock with their lowest 80% wage earners, they'll get a 3% corporate tax rate discount. So they're only going to do it if it makes sense to them economically. It'll result in some initial dilution of their share price probably, but once they get the tax rate discount, it'll result in an increase. But
let's just go backwards for a second. So the first component part of this is some of these companies may have to buy back shares because they're going to need to actually capture the shares
or issue shares
to be able to distribute shares. So they're either going to dilute themselves or have to buy back shares to do this. So there's a genuine cost. You're saying you're offsetting the cost by
giving a corporate tax rate discount of 3%.
3%, 3 percentage points?
3 percentage points. So the bottom line is...
It'll last for how long?
It'll last forever. The bottom line is...
One-time hit and you get a long time.
The bottom line is that right now in America, the top 10% wealthy people in the country own 93% of the stock. The lowest 50% people in the United States of America own 1% of the stock. We have to rebuild the middle class. We've made enormous wealth in America since the 1980s, and that's good, and we should encourage that. But we need to share our success with the people who go to work every day.
But I just want to go back. And do some math.
Yeah, okay.
For the CEOs who would effectively have to follow this or make this decision to do this or not, to capture the tax rate, the math is what? So their current corporate tax rate is going to be 21%?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get an 18%.
You're saying you're down to 18%. If you put this in place for your employees permanently? I mean, so what happens if I do this on a one-time?
What if I lose employees, they take off, and now my 80%?
The employees, you could decide whether or not you want the stock to vest over a 5-year period or not. We think this will encourage worker productivity. It'll encourage worker loyalty. It will make more people in America owners. We want
but do I have to continue to do this? Like if I have employees who leave and now I'm no longer compliant with 80%?
As long as 5% of your stock is owned by your employees, you comply.
But if I lose the employees, then I have to keep issuing more stock to make sure that number continues.
And I'm assuming what you say 5% of your employees, if the CEO...
No, not 5% of your employees. 80%. Lowest 80%.
Lowest 80% of your employees have to own 5% of the company at any given time.
Correct.
Okay, so this becomes interesting / complicated if you're a company like NVIDIA. The cost of this is actually astronomical.
So in the case of NVIDIA and other companies with high market value like that, you can cap the award to $250,000. Now, the average award to your employees will be like $50,000 or $60,000. This will the bottom line is we need to rebuild the middle class.
Look, I understand the policy. I'm just trying to figure out how we can make the policy work. My next question, work so people actually want to do it and that there's an incentive to do it and that it works out. You're saying right now this is just for public companies?
No, it's for any companies with over 500 employees. It would mainly be public companies because of stock, but there could be ways for this to work for.
Well, that's where I was going to go, because one of the things that we're seeing a huge trend, and we talk about on the broadcast all the time, is more and more companies are staying private for longer. The real actual money that's being made is actually while the companies are being private before they become public. And so the question is, how do you incentivize those companies to do what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that the idea is we have to figure out this will go through a lot of iterations, I'm sure. Right now, I have bipartisan support, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, including the chair and the ranking member of the subcommittee on tax in Ways and Means.
Right.
And there'll be a lot of debate about how to tweak this to make it work the right way. The bottom line is that in America, we need to start rewarding people who work hard, because there's too many people in our country that are working hard every day and they just can't get ahead. And we need to create more of an ownership society. Right now, the people watching your show, the people that pay attention to the Dow Jones, is a relatively small segment of the American people. We need to expand the ownership society in our country so that people who go to work every day can participate in the great success of this great country.
I don't understand all the details, but I see what you're saying from a broader scale and a position on this. And you see the politics of inequality playing out, not just here in New York City, but across the country. But we have focused on this Mamdani election that's coming up as a result. You know, you wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal kind of knocking it down. You're a Democrat who sees things a little differently, but this really plays at the schism in the Democratic Party at this point.
Right. I want to make it very clear. I'm a Democratic capitalist, not a Democratic socialist. And what Mamdani did in New York, much like what Donald Trump did, is tap into the economic discontent of people in the country. Too many people go to work every day and they can't make it. And in our country, we've got to get back to a place where whether you're a left-wing progressive or a right-wing conservative, everybody should believe that in return for working hard, I'll make enough money so I can buy a house, educate my kids, pay for health insurance, and retire without being scared. That's the American dream. Everybody in our country should believe that. Whether you're a progressive or a conservative, you should believe that.
The way to get there is very different. I think a lot of people believe that, would buy into that and say that absolutely. But even within your own party and within Congress writ large, it's really hard to figure out agreement on how that happens.
So that's why a bill like what I have right now, which is a bipartisan bill, let's get Democrats and Republicans to stop attacking each other and start attacking the problems that we face in our country. And the problem that we have is that too many people are working hard and can't make it.
But you find that you have more agreement with moderate Republicans than you do the left wing of your own party.
I have agreement with all kinds of people as long as you look at let's diagnose the problem. The problem is that too many people are working hard and can't make it.
Sure, but Mamdani has said this too. His way of going about it is going to be rent control.
I totally disagree with Mamdani.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's smart, he's charismatic, he's wrong. I disagree with him. We can't raise taxes in New York City. People are leaving New York City as it is. And in blue states and cities throughout the country, our taxes are too high. We're losing population. The 2030 census, we're going to see less Democratic congressional seats, less Democratic electoral votes throughout the country. The blue wall will no longer exist because people are moving to low-tax states like Florida and Texas and Tennessee and other states. Now, I disagree with their policies, but we have to figure out how to make it attractive.
When we bring people in here to talk about New York City and whether they're losing population or not, they'll say, no, we're back. It's not as bad as it was 2019. But you brought up a really interesting fact about population since the 60s.
Yeah, when I was born in 1962, I'm 62 years old, be 63 later this year, there were 45 members of Congress from New York State. Today, there's 26 members of Congress from New York State, and it's going to go down in the next census unless we figure out how to reverse this trend. Because since we lost the state and a local tax deduction, which is a body blow to New York and other high-tax states, we're continuing to lose population from places like New York, New Jersey, Illinois.
Relative to what you see the population growth in other parts of the country, which is how Congress is based on those.
Correct. And the electoral votes as well.
Yeah. Tom, I'm getting a whole bunch of texts and emails about your plan. I want to go back to the math, because this is actually an interesting thing, and maybe you can respond to it. I think it's important, given that we just talked about it. If you look at these, the two examples, Amazon and Walmart. Now, obviously, these are two big companies, but the cost to them, 5% of their market cap is basically, 5% of Amazon's market cap is basically $100 billion. Walmart would be $26 billion. The tax break to them for something like Amazon would be close to $1 billion a year. So if you have $100 billion, you got to give away to the employees, and the only benefit to you economically is $1 billion in year one. Let's say you amortize that over 20 years. You're still $80 billion in the hole. So if you did Amazon, if you do Walmart, by the way, the situation's not materially better. It's $26 billion is what the market cap, 5% of their market cap would be, and on an annual basis, they might save $900 million from this tax break if it works. And so even if you amortize this out, it would take you 100 years to pay for this. So
companies with high market caps can cap their award at $250,000 as opposed to giving the full 5%. They'd have to decide. First of all, this is not a mandate. This would be a decision that companies
can make it on their own.
Whether it makes sense for them economically to do it.
Right.
I believe that companies will decide to do this because it will encourage employee loyalty and productivity as well. And because
But it is subsidized by the taxpayer. As any tax incentive.
It's subsidized really more by the existing stockholders because you'll see dilution of their shares in the beginning.
Yeah, but they lower tax.
All I'm saying is I think the companies that you want to be doing this are actually not even the big tech companies. You actually want the Walmarts and you want the factory worker at Amazon who's delivering your package, and the folks at Walmart, they're the ones you want getting the stock.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how do you make this an economically feasible proposition to the company? And I think that's a very hard thing to do with this.
And that type of conversation and that type of provocation to get people thinking about this is what the big part of this goal is.
Can I just throw in one other potential unintended consequence? You are making an incentive to put a lot more robots into place and to automate things so that you don't have as many.
Well, we're going to be seeing a lot more robots, and we're going to be seeing a lot more AI, and we need to create more of an ownership society so that people can participate in economic success of our country. Right now, we have a very.
I'm okay with that because it's just not going to. If it's optional for a company, then they're not going to do.
The whole thing is optional,
robots.
And the idea. And let's figure out more ways to make the middle class rebuild in America. Let's figure out for people aspiring to the middle class and in the middle class that they can have a decent life, that they can participate in our great success. When we went through this whole thing with Milton Friedman in the 1970s and said, stop worrying about the employees, stop worrying about the community you're in, and just worry about the shareholders. Right. It created enormous wealth in our country, but we decimated the middle class in the process. We have to rebuild the middle class in our country. This is an idea to try and get there, and I hope it will provoke a lot of ideas.